Barack was only 10 years old. He was living in the tough neighborhoods of Hawaii with his mother. His father had left him when he was just a baby. The emptiness he left behind was not just an empty chair in the house. It was also a deep wound in Barack's heart. He was neither fully black nor fully white. Everywhere he went, he felt like an outsider. At school, they mocked his name, and he was ostracized because of his skin color. One day, when someone in the school cafeteria called him the monkey's child from Africa, a huge anger filled his tiny heart. But there was something else shining inside him: hope. One day, I will be the voice of everyone, he wrote in his notebook. It may have been just a silent vow from a child, but years later it would mark the beginning of a journey that would change the fate of millions. By the time he graduated high school, he had only a few dollars in his pocket and an old suitcase in his hand. He went to Los Angeles. His dreams were big, but his resources were small. He started living in a damp room in the basement of an apartment building. At night, he had no place to sleep, and in the mornings, he had no money for breakfast. He spent his days warming up in libraries and filling his stomach with a bagel in the evening. But he never complained. When he was accepted into Harvard, everything didn't change for him. In fact, it became even more difficult. Even as a student at Harvard, people still mistook him for a janitor. Racism appeared in various forms every day. One day, while waiting in an ATM line, a man in a suit looked at him with disdain. When it was his turn, the man cut in front of him. When Barack objected, the man loudly said, "Sir, these machines work with cards, not cash. There is a different line for you," he said. A few people in the crowd giggled. At that moment, the anger inside him flared up again, but he didn't shout. He didn't hit. He just took a step back and watched. "When the time comes, my turn will come," he said to himself. That moment of contempt in the ATM line would later become one of the most talked about memories in his election campaign. Because the people knew what that line was. And Barack wasn't just representing his own line, but also theirs. After college, he worked as a social worker in the back neighborhoods of Chicago. He entered the homes of children in poor areas where most of the residents were black, and children often went to bed hungry. An elderly woman once said to him, "Hundreds of people have come and gone, my son. You'll forget us too." Barack replied, "I am here not to forget, but to learn." Day by day, he began to carry not only his own fate, but the cry of an entire community on his shoulders. While fighting racism every day, a silent leader was being born. In 2004, his speech at the Democratic Party convention determined his destiny. "If this country can see the son of a shepherd from Kenya as someone who can dream, then there is still hope," he said, and millions of Americans couldn't hold back their tears. He was no longer just a black lawyer. He had become the voice of America. He had become a symbol of the suppressed dreams of the people. In the 2008 election, on that historic night, everyone's eyes were on the screens, and the moment arrived. Barack Obama has been elected President of the United States. Among the crowd, an elderly woman was holding a banner. "Tell my grandfather, it's not a dream anymore." When Barack stepped onto the stage, he smiled. His face bore the fatigue of the years, and his eyes reflected the hopes of millions. "I hear you," he said, "because once I was you. The child who had been excluded, who had been turned away from the bank line, who had endured teachers not wanting to pronounce his name. Now he was sitting in the most powerful seat in America." When he spoke about that night, he always used the same sentence: "Some people are born in the dark, but they carry the light inside them." And that light would one day illuminate the entire world.